Buckaroos. Oh, howdy do, Buckaroos. I started talking too early. So, hey, I've got one from Urban Chestnut, the Cherry Thrails, uh, Russian Imperial Stout, aged or fermented, I should say, fermented with sour cherries. 9%, 50 IBUs. And I popped this because a Todd over there said he was going to have a stout, so it's going to be a stout edition.
That sounds good.
So, what do you got there, sir?
This is an oatmeal stout from Ipswich Brewing Company out of Ipswich, Massachusetts.
Oh, interesting. I don't think I've had anything from them.
And this was another one of my recent Beer of the Month clubs that my wife got me for my birthday. Smells nice out of the bottle.
A lot of chocolate on the nose here, and cherry, reminiscent of the cherry cordials.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, that's gorgeous. Oh gosh.
It's just such a natural blend for the cherry flavoring in that.
Cherry and chocolate, yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised there's not more of that goes around.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant.
Or maybe there was a fad at one time and I just don't remember.
Ah.
Yeah, definitely get this one here. I get as you can see, it's a nice dark, not a huge head, but a little bit of a tan, creamy colored head.
So you know the ABV on that one?
This one is 6%, but didn't see any listings for IBU, so I don't know what the IBUs are. I think it was 6%. I'm sorry, 7%.
7%. Okay, nice.
Yeah, but I don't see a listing for the IBU, so I don't know.
So let's talk about stouts.
That's nice.
There's a lot of stout subcategories. You have an Irish dry stout. You got we have, of course, American crafts are a little different, and you have Russian imperial stouts. So, do you enjoy all the categories? Do you have a personal favorite? Coffee stouts, chocolate stouts, milk stouts?
I like I like the imperial stouts and barrel aged type stouts probably more so, but I do like
The bigger, the better.
in my opinion, yeah. But I do like oatmeal stouts. Coffee stouts probably fall towards the bottom of that category for me. I'm not a huge coffee person. I don't dislike the coffee stouts. That's not one of the first ones I'd reach for out of the stouts.
You know,
Stouts, I do like like I said, I do like the imperial stouts. I like the barrel aging. Yeah, kind of as you said, the bolder, the higher ABV, the better.
you mentioned barrel aging. I mean, I'm drinking this. This isn't barrel aged. It's a 9% imperial stout with sour cherries. And as I'm drinking it, I'm wondering how it would taste after some time in a bourbon barrel.
Probably
Because
fantastic.
you've got chocolate, you got cherry, and then you put it in a whiskey barrel, and wow, I just can't imagine how great that would be.
Probably be phenomenal. I
Yeah.
don't think you probably can go wrong with anything aged in a barrel, can you?
No, for me, no. I mean, I have some friends that don't like whiskey that think the barrel ruins the beer, but now for me, it just makes it better. I just love everything barrel aged.
And see, it worked opposite for me. I think it's a good subtle lead into going into the bourbon and whiskey straight, in my opinion.
Hmm. I agree. I agree with you.
Because for a long time, I didn't care.
I'm one of those folks that was born to drink, man.
Well, I think I was too. I'm Irish German, so I really have no choice.
That's really for me too. Yeah, that's mostly my ancestry is Irish and German. But I have recollections as a kid stealing beer from my dad or taking sips of his whiskey when other family members would take a drink and go, oh, I would take a drink and go, oh. You know what
Oh,
I mean? I've
okay.
never found whiskey off-putting. I've never found beer bad. I mean, I just think some people were meant to drink, and I am one of them.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more of a latecomer onto the bourbon whiskey scene, I guess. I'm steadily growing my palate towards that, liking it a little more and more every day. Not that I drink it every day, but I like it. The more I drink it, the more I like it.
Yeah,
And I say a lot of it had to do with the barrel aged stouts that kind of got me going towards that because you kind of get not the full bourbon whiskey flavoring, but enough to get you pique your taste buds a little bit.
yep, I agree. I agree. It's fun. Growing up, my dad was a Jim Beam drinker most of the time. When he was feeling really good about himself, he drank Jack Daniels. But back in those days, Jack Daniels was a 90 proof whiskey. Jack Daniels isn't a bourbon, by the way. It's a Tennessee whiskey or sour mash, uh, but it was 90 proof. Today's Jack Daniels is 80 proof. It's a little bit different. They say they haven't changed the recipe, but they have watered it down. And then when he was really feeling good back then, he drank Wild Turkey 101, and that those were the stages of my dad's drinking.
There you go.
So you got the Jack. So what's the proof on that Jack?
This one says 80.
80. Okay, so it's a new bottle. Yeah.
40% ABV, 80 proof.
See, my issue
And
with
actually,
Jack,
somebody,
it's not that I think Jack is a bad whiskey, but my issue with Jack is it runs between, well, it runs about $20 a bottle here in town. But Jim Beam runs about $14 a bottle. I just don't think it's that much better per bottle than Jim Beam. I don't think it's any higher quality than Jim Beam is. There are some folks who are going to say they like the taste of the Jack Daniels. They want a specific flavor that has to offer because Jack Daniels does have a distinctive flavor. That I won't argue. But for me, I could spend 14 on Jim Beam or 2022 on Jack. I'm going to buy the Jim Beam because I think it's a much smoother whiskey.
I was going to ask you, do you prefer the Jim Beam? Do you like the Jim Beam, just the regular Jim Beam at the $14,
I do.
$15
I
bottle?
actually do. I think it's a nice whiskey, especially if you're going to mix it with something. If you're going to put it into a highball, if you're going to put any kind of soda into it, yeah. I I even drink regular Jim Beam neat personally, but I think it's a smoother. Well, Jim Beam is actually a bourbon where Jack Daniels is not. So if you want to say I like particular taste qualities, but again, my point being, for $8, anywhere between $8 to $10, I'm not spending more for Jack Daniels, in my opinion.
Would you say Jim Beam is a good, cheap bourbon to keep on hand as kind of your house type bourbon?
Yeah, I would. I would say it's a perfect house bourbon to have because you can do a lot with it. I mean, you could drink it neat if you want. You could drink it on the rocks if you wanted. But if you want to drink it with a club soda or seltzer, it's fine. You want to work it as a highball. If you want to put 7 Up or Coke in it, even it blends well. It also works if you want to make any other type of cheap cocktail. It's not necessarily a preferred whiskey to make a say an old fashioned, but if you're dealing with folks that aren't really familiar with the drink, it does work well for an old fashioned. And even though rye is what's traditional for a Manhattan, Jim Beam does work well in a Manhattan as well.
Yeah, I got a couple of friends that happen to be brothers. One of them, he brings Jim Beam, just the regular Jim Beam, the cheap like we're talking about, and Cokes or Coke or whatnot, and mixes them together. And we was out one night over at his brother's house and watching a game or whatnot, and got towards the end of the evening, so we started drinking some of it straight. And the other two were a couple of guys that were with are bourbon fans and drink it quite a bit. So we got to drinking the Jim Beam straight, and they were quite surprised at how nice it was drinking it. We did it neat and on the rocks, and they were kind of surprised or taken back about how easy drinking it was from not mixing it.
Yeah,
I'm quite surprised, actually.
I think it is a very smooth and balanced whiskey for the price point. I will say that, and for me, for my taste buds, I like it better than the Jack Daniels. I'm not going to say that it's better quality than the Daniels, but I don't think JD is better quality than the Jim Beam, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
And
however,
in fact,
speaking about Jim Beam, though, if you want to spend about $5 to $6 more, there's Jim Beam. Came out fairly recently called Jim Beam Double Oak that runs about $20 a bottle. Runs about the same price as Jack Daniels, and that Jim Beam Double Oak is absolutely brilliant.
I've not looked for that one. I'm sure it's around here, but I've not looked for it.
It's a little oakier, a little woodier than the regular Jim Beam. It also has some other notes that the wood imparts, more vanilla, more toffee notes. It's a little bigger, a little bolder, and it's only $5 more per bottle.
Have you had the is it Makers? I think Makers 46.
Makers 40. I like Makers 46, but again, we're talking about price. I just don't know for the additional price point. I think if I'm going to spend as much money as Makers 46 costs, that there are other whiskeys that I personally prefer, but I think it's a good whiskey. Yes.
Which one would you take over that one at the same price point?
Well, if we're talking just bourbons, because I also like Irish whiskeys, but let's just say, for instance, if I'm gonna spend that much money on a whiskey, I can buy this one here for about $30. This is the Rocktown, Arkansas Hickory Smoke whiskey. Now, so for about $30, I can buy this, and I would rather buy this than the Makers 46.
Okay.
For my taste buds. But if we're talking just bourbons, again, I mean that Jim Beam Double Oak is just brilliant for only $20 a bottle, man.
Where would you put say Eagle Rare or something in that mix?
Oh well, Eagle Rare is nice. Actually, Eagle Rare, for the price point, Eagle Rare is a very nice whiskey.
Because that's about a $30, $32 bottle, right?
Yeah, it runs about there. Yeah, Eagle Rare is nice. Again, the regular Makers runs about 25 here. The Makers 46. I mean, I think the Makers products are good. I just think they're relying on a lot of name recognition. I don't know that they're any better than other whiskeys you can get for a few dollars less.
And you're probably right. Yeah, they're selling it on the name alone, probably.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that they're not worth the money. I'm saying,
right. No, I know that. But they get a little extra out of it because of who it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people buy Jack Daniels just because it's called Jack Daniels. And for them, they don't care what it tastes like because that's what they've always drank. That's all they're going to drink. They're going to put it in Coke, and that's just how they're going to drink it. I bet I could fool those folks. I bet I could pour another whiskey into a Jack Daniels bottle, and if I was pouring it into their Coke out of a Jack Daniels bottle, they wouldn't know what it was.
You probably get that with a lot of people in spirits or whiskeys or beers, even for that matter.
I just think some people
probably wouldn't have any idea
on a brand name that they don't even realize what anything tastes like. That's what they want. That's what they think they want, and I don't even know that they realize what something tastes like.
Well, they get the name in their head that it's supposed to be good because it's we'll say a high dollar or medium dollar price point that you don't want to look at something else, or you automatically assume that it's not good.
Well, again, I mean, Jack Daniels, for instance, I mean, I've said this ad nauseum at this point, but it was a 90 proof whiskey originally. It went to an 86 proof whiskey, and now it's an 80 proof whiskey. Now, they've said over and over again they haven't changed the recipe. That may very well be true, but they have watered it down. What people are
Yeah.
drinking now for Jack Daniels isn't the same thing that we were drinking, the one that I was drinking. You're too young. But when I was drinking 30 years ago as Jack Daniels, it's not the same damn whiskey.
Well, it definitely looks, it definitely looks kind of watered down to the eye anyway. At least my eye anyway.
But if I've got to pay 20 to 25 for that bottle, and I can pay between 12 to 15 for Jim Beam, personally, I'd rather buy Jim Beam. I like the flavor better. I think the quality is just as good. I would rather have the Jim Beam. But what I will say about that Jack Daniels, though, is Jack Daniels, if you were to have a shot of Jim Beam and a shot of Jack Daniels right there, I don't know which one you'd like better, but what you would notice is that Jack Daniels has a very distinctive flavor. And a lot of people like that very distinctive flavor.
Is it more the from being a sour mash? You think? I guess probably changes it.
Well, the Jack Daniels, if I remember correctly, makes their own barrel, and they have a specific char in the sour mash. But yeah, it has a very distinctive flavor. And I will say that about the JD, it has a very distinctive flavor. It's just like there are folks that really like Budweiser. Budweiser, whether you like it or not, whether you think it's a quality beer or not, has a very distinctive flavor. JD is kind of that same thing with bourbon, or it's not bourbon, but but whiskey basically. It's very distinctive. Now, I personally like the Jim Beam better because I think it's smoother, but there are some people that like that distinctive kind of sour quality that the JD has. It's very smoky. It just has a very distinctive taste.
Now, when you're smelling the different ones, do you get different
Do you have
smells
Jim?
from each one?
Do you have Jim Beam there at your house?
I don't know. I don't have any yet. Right, currently, I do not. It's like I was just smelling this Buffalo Trace one that I showed you a while ago.
Okay, I tell you what. Yeah, hey, you know what? Do that.
It's a very similar taste to the Jack Daniels, or smell. I mean, I'm sorry.
Pour yourself a tiny bit of that Buffalo Trace and pour yourself a tiny bit of that JD. Now, I don't know which one you're going to like better, but that JD is going to have a very distinctive taste. You're going to be able to tell it apart from anything else you drink. Try a little bit of both and tell me what you think. And if memory serves me right, you're going to get that JD is going to feel a little smokier. You're going to get almost this little bit of a tart or sour quality at the end. You're just going to feel something at the end. It's going to be a little different. I don't know which one you're going to like better. Personally, if you ask me, those both run about the same price point. I prefer the Buffalo Trace because it's smoother. But some people like that very distinctive Jack Daniels taste.
Like I said, I'm kind of a novice when it comes to the bourbon stuff. So, all right, this is the Buffalo Trace.
All right, we're doing an experiment here. Okay, all right, here we go.
See, I like that. That one's actually for me is actually pretty good. It's smooth.
Yeah, you should get some light smoky notes. If I remember Buffalo Trace correctly, you should get a nice amount of maybe some toffee notes.
See, that's where I struggle with the bourbons. I don't taste a lot of those notes in a lot of them for some reason. I don't know.
But it's very smooth, right?
Just,
It was easy to drink.
it is, yeah. I do get a little bit of smokiness. I do get that. Sure, maybe a little bit of vanilla in it.
Mm-hmm. Well, try that Jack Daniels and tell me what you get.
All right. Well, I'm gonna take a little swig of my stout here and kind of
There
cleanse
you
the
go.
palate a little bit.
Yeah. Use a stout as a palate cleanser.
Who needs water? Let's just drop down to 7%.
We're doing shit professional here at the Beer Whisperer Pub. I tell you what. We are candid.
Well, I poured one here in a blue one, so you can't really see it. You can see a little bit of the
There you go.
shadow, I guess. But that's the JD. See, on the nose for me, they almost, and I'm probably sounding really dumb to a lot of people right about now for this type
They
of stuff.
seem similar on the nose.
They do seem very similar on the nose. And that's just my inexperience of bourbons, I guess, which I really want to move forward into those, but I always gravitate towards the different beers when I go to the liquor stores. So I don't, I used to kind of give you the bitter beer face whenever I drank them and didn't care much for them, but in the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years or so, I guess I've grown a little more, gravitated a little more towards bourbon flavored stuff. All right, let's see. Down the hatch with the JD. Now,
I mean,
now you need to pour you one.
Just taste it and see what you think.
That's not bad. I mean, that's not bad either, really. I mean,
No, but it's very distinctive.
I don't have the smokiness to it. It's a little more harsh going down a
Yeah,
little
there
bit.
you go. And that's what I'm looking for. Is that whether you like it or not? And I'm not saying JD is a bad whiskey, but Jack Daniels is very distinctive. So folks that really like it for that reason. They want that specific flavor. Folks that will gravitate towards Jim Beam or other whiskeys are doing so because they want something else. But Jack Daniels, for better or for worse, is very distinctive. I just think for me, for about an $8 to $10 a bottle difference, I'm going to spend my money on the Jim Beam. But a lot of people want that specific flavor. And you drinking that, I think you know what I'm talking about now. Jack Daniels has a very distinctive taste.
Yeah, I definitely. Not to say I could do it today or anything if you put one or the other in front of me, because I haven't had enough of either, enough of Jack Daniels by itself to say one way or the other. But just now drinking those two, they definitely is a distinctive flavor between the two.
Yeah. And there's a lot of bourbons you can try that are very similar. They're very smooth. They fall in a specific category. And Jack Daniels isn't a bourbon; it's a Tennessee whiskey. But Jack Daniels has a very distinctive flavor, for better or worse. I mean, you always know when you're drinking Jack Daniels, it tastes a certain way.
And to me, it was a little. It warmed my insides a little more than the other one did.
That it will do. So, anyways, hey, we're going to end this session because we ran a little long. But Todd, so we talked about whiskey. Any final thoughts about that beer you're drinking?
No, that's pretty good. It's a little, thin on the mouthfeel, but it's actually got some nice flavor to it. Not a bad one. Kind of a high ABV for an oatmeal stout, I think, for 7%, but it's pretty good.
7%'s pretty good, yeah. So I've got a 9%, 50 IBU Imperial Stout with cherries here. I mean, Urban Chestnut, what can I say? I think they're one of the best craft breweries on the planet. I'm sorry to Urban Chestnut for not going into more detail, but that's not really what we do here. I am John the Beer Whisperer. We'll talk to you later.